There's a moment that quietly separates people who will build wealth from people who will spend their entire lives chasing it. And strangely enough, it usually doesn't look important at all. It's not buying a house. It's not landing a six-figure job. It's not becoming some stock market genius. It's your first investment, usually a small one, a few $100s, maybe even less. But that tiny decision changes something most people never realize until years later. Because your first investment doesn't just grow your money, it rewires the way you see your future. And once that shift happens, you stop thinking like someone trying to survive and start thinking like someone building wealth. My name is Nick, and today I want to show you why your first investment matters far more than the amount itself, because for most people, this is the exact moment their entire financial life begins to change. Imagine two people, same age, same income, same city, same opportunities. Let's call them Alex and Ryan. At 24 years old, both are making about $55,000 a year. Neither comes from money. Neither understands investing particularly well. And both feel like they're just trying to survive adulthood. Rent, groceries, student loans, car insurance, the occasional overpriced takeout order that somehow costs $37 after delivery fees and emotional damage. Financially, they're basically identical. But one Saturday afternoon, Alex does something Ryan doesn't. He opens an investment account. Not because he's rich. Not because he's an expert. Honestly, he barely understands what he's doing. He invests $500 into a simple index fund, then forgets about it. That's it. No dramatic lifestyle change. No financial breakthrough. No overnight success story. Just one tiny investment. And yet, that small decision quietly creates one of the biggest differences between their futures. Because the first investment is never really about the money. It's about crossing a psychological border most people never cross. Most people think wealth building is about income. And income matters. Obviously. But if income alone created wealth, there wouldn't be doctors living paycheck to paycheck, professional athletes going bankrupt, or lottery winners ending up broke a few years later. The real difference between people who build wealth and people who don't is ownership. Most people spend their entire lives only participating in the economy as consumers. They earn money, spend money, repeat. Forever, every paycheck immediately flows outward to landlords, banks, car payments, subscriptions, credit cards, restaurants. Everyone gets paid except them. But investing changes your role completely. For the first time in your life, your money starts working for you instead of disappearing from you. And psychologically, that changes everything. Because the moment you buy your first investment, you stop being only a worker. You become an owner, even if it's tiny. Even if it's just $100 sitting inside an index fund, you now own a piece of businesses, a piece of the economy, a piece of future growth itself. And that mental shift is far more powerful than most people realize. Here's what nobody tells you about investing. The first few dollars you make from investments feel almost magical. Not because the amount is large, but because it feels different from earned income. Imagine checking your account one morning and seeing you made $14 while you slept. Logically, you know $14 isn't life-changing. But emotionally, something clicks. Because for the first time, money arrived without you trading hours of your life for it. That realization is dangerous in the best possible way. Because suddenly, your brain starts asking different questions. Instead of, how much can I spend? You start asking, how much can I invest? Instead of, what can I afford this month? You start wondering, how fast can I grow this? That's the hidden transformation. Your first investment introduces you to leverage, to compounding, to delayed gratification, to the idea that wealth might actually be possible for someone like you. And once people truly understand that concept, they rarely see money the same way again. At first, investing feels painfully slow. This is where most people quit. You invest $100, then another $100, then another. And after months, your account still looks small. It feels insignificant, almost pointless. But this is exactly how compound growth works. In the beginning, progress is invisible. Imagine planting a tree. For years, it barely looks different. Teeny trunk, small branches, not much shade. But underground, the roots are spreading, strengthening, preparing for explosive future growth. Investing works the same way. Your first investment isn't important because of what it becomes immediately. It's important because of what it starts. Because even eventually, the growth starts accelerating. Then one day, your investments make more money in a month than you personally contributed. And that's when people realize the game has changed. The wealthy understand something most people never fully grasp. Labor has limits. Compounding doesn't. You can only work so many hours. But your money never sleeps. So if investing is this powerful, why do most people never begin? Because starting feels emotionally uncomfortable. When you're financially stressed, investing feels irresponsible. Putting money into the market can feel scary when your rent is due in 2 weeks. Your brain wants certainty, safety, immediate rewards. That's survival psychology. And survival psychology is terrible at building long-term wealth. Most people wait until they feel ready to invest. But almost nobody ever feels ready. There's always another expense, another emergency, another reason to delay. And every year they wait. They lose something they can never recover. Time. That's the real tragedy. Not lack of intelligence, not lack of opportunity. Time, because compounding is brutally dependent on time. Someone who starts investing at 25 with small amounts often ends up wealthier than someone who starts at 40 investing aggressively. Not because they were smarter, because they started earlier. Your first investment matters because it starts the clock. But honestly, the money itself still isn't the biggest benefit. The real transformation is identity. People who invest consistently begin seeing the world differently. They stop obsessing over status purchases. They stop trying to look rich and start trying to become rich. That shift changes spending habits, career decisions, relationships with money, long-term priorities. Because once you start building assets, you realize consumption and wealth usually move in opposite directions. The person driving the luxury car might be drowning in debt. The person quietly investing every month might be building financial freedom. And over time, the gap between those two people becomes enormous. Investors begin thinking in decades instead of weekends. They become calmer financially, more patient, more strategic, because they understand something consumers don't. Small financial decisions repeated consistently create massive outcomes. Here's the strange thing about wealth. For most people, it doesn't begin with a huge opportunity. It begins with a tiny decision that initially feels insignificant. Opening the account, buying the first investment, starting before you feel fully ready. That's the moment everything changes. Because your first investment is proof of something incredibly important. It proves you've stopped thinking only about today and started building for a future version of yourself. Most people spend decades waiting for some perfect financial moment before they begin. But wealth rarely starts with confidence. Usually, it starts with uncertainty, with small amounts, with imperfect knowledge, with someone simply deciding, I need to start. And years later, that tiny first investment often becomes the moment they look back on and realize that was the day their financial life changed forever. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. And more importantly, start before you feel ready. Because time rewards action far more than perfection.